Slowly. Turning from the very top of that left leg. Slide the right heel back. Roll the tops of the legs away from each other. Hinge from the hip. Hands to shin or ankle. Push away from the shin or ankle as you roll the top shoulder open. Let the arm come up. Lift the pubic bone. Lengthen the base of the skull. Hold legs firm and straight. Hold arms straight. Now, Ardha Chanda, so take the hand to the hip, turn the gaze, pause, then bend the knee. Pause, then reach the hand. Pause, then step the back foot in. Reach the hand forward again, pause. Leaning into the front leg as you slowly lift the back leg. Stretch the heel back. Roll the top hip open, top shoulder. Standing leg firm. Firm the thighs. Muscles to the bone. Stretch the heels. Down into the floor, back away from you. Top arm can float up. So come out in reverse. Hand on the hip, bend the knee, pause. Lightly step the foot back. Hand to shin or ankle. So try to have your distance between your legs the same you started with. Then let the head turn. Arm up. Push down as you look down to come up, inhale. Parallel the feet, now you're folding again. Back of the wrist on the top of the foot. Relax the head down. Keep your legs straight. Relax the arms, the shoulders. And as you lift your gaze, bring your hands up onto your ankles. You're going to turn your heels in and your toes out. Heels in, toes out. For skanda. So now you're going to lunge towards the back of the left knee, sink the hip, lift the chest, lift the chest, lift the chest. Firm the straight leg, work the shin. Then bending that straight knee to shift across slowly. Sink the hip. Now use the elbow to track the knee over the center of the foot. Don't let the knee buckle in. Work the straight leg firm. Sink onto the foot. Bend the left knee. Shift across slowly. Sink the hip. And the right knee, shift across, slowly. Sink the hip, track the knee over the center of the foot. Lift the chest. Bend the knee, inhale. Exhale, sink the hip, lift the chest. Bend the knee, inhale. Sink the hip, lift the sternum. Then straighten the right leg, turn the heels out. One more time, release the head down, legs firm. Drop in the inner knee, the outer knee, equally lifting. Then hands under your shoulders on the floor. You're going to bend your knees, turn on your feet towards the top of your mat. Step to plank, feet together. Sorry, feet hip distance. Stretch your heels back. Shoulders over your wrist. Push the floor away. And lift your hips up. Bend your knees slightly, lift your hips up. High as you can with the hips. Push the floor away. Arms straight, open those armpits, side waist. And we're going to lower the knees to the floor, bring them towards each other. Knees together, feet together. Keep your arms in straight in front as you sit back to the hip. Release the head down. Keeping the shoulders broad. Arms straight. Exhaling fully. Come onto all fours slowly. Yeah. Now just separate your knees. So we'll work with Vashisthasana, so the arm balance that will open the channels in the arms and the chest. I'll just give you a couple of simple versions for beginners, or a simple version. So take your right leg back, curl your toes, keep your left knee on the floor, left hand pressing into the floor as you turn that right heel in. Lean into the left hand, left knee, open to the side, reach up to the top arm, and the gaze can follow. Pretty straightforward. Connect from the center of the chest all the way to the middle finger. Both arms. And top hand down. So we'll do the other side for balance, and then I'll give you a slightly more challenging option. Take the left leg back, turn the heel in, lean into the hand. Don't have your knee behind your hip, have it right underneath your hip. Open up. Keep your arms straight up, don't take it behind you so you don't close the back. Feel the whole hand on the floor. And head down. Knees to the floor. Alright, now you can go back and do that same one again, or I'll give you a slightly more challenging version. So if you want to go on to the next one, stretch your legs back with your feet together, shoulders over your wrist. Now work the heels back, thighs up, sacrum in. Rolling onto the left little toe side, or knee to the ground, hand on the hip, lift your hip up, 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 up. Let the arm float up, and let the head follow. The sacrum has to come in, the head has to go back. Top and down. Take a break in down dog with the feet together. And we go forward into the plank. Either drop the right knee to the floor now or roll to the right knee to the side. Lift the bottom hip up, arm up, head last. Keep that bottom hip lifted. Connect from the chest to the fingers. Sacrum forward, head back. Up and down. Now everyone knees down. And you'll be relieved to embrace the child pose. Head down, arms by your sides. Relax your ribs onto your thighs. Relax your hips onto your heels. So that one activates the channels in the chest across all the way into the arms on both sides. So we'll move into a few backward bendings to activate the thymus gland again. Activate the prana or the gathering chi in the chest. So when you're ready, you're going to come onto your belly. we'll just start on the elbows, simple enough. So just have the elbows slightly forward of your shoulders. You don't have them back here because you can't lift. And not too far forward either. The feet are hip distance, stretch the legs back. Then press the elbows, the forearms down, lift the collarbones, lift the thymus, gland, the sternum, as you look straight ahead. As you're exhaling, relax on the belly. Let the buttocks relax, but keep the legs straight. Now, I'll give you a couple of options. This might be enough for you to stay here. Those that can work to straighten your arms, so you can let your navel lift, but it's assuming that you're not going to hike your shoulders to do it. So you drop the shoulders, you lift the sternum, and you get the movement up between the shoulder blades, not just the lower back bending, but the upper back has to curl as well. Bhujangasana. If there's too much on the lower back, just drop the elbows and keep your belly on the floor. Okay? This is done with the shoulders relaxed, the sternum lifted. One more breath. And slowly relax the elbows down. Now you're going to bring your left hand in across to meet the right elbow. So I'm just turning my left hand in, so I'm on the forearm. And then you can see it's parallel to the front edge of my mat. Then I'm going to bend that right knee. Now this is again where some of you might need to stop depending on the knee. So the hand can come to the foot and that might be enough. And you just bring the heel a little bit closer to the buttock. Those that can turn on the wrist, you turn the wrist, the fingers face the front, and you use the pressure of the wrist, press the heel towards the outside of the hip. It's called Bekasana. If you feel strain in the knee, you can just take the thigh parallel or the shin parallel to the floor, or you can simply just go back to this one. Okay? It's more about bending the back than it is putting any strain on the knee. Those of you that can work the foot towards the hip, you feel the top of the thigh lengthens, press the hip bone into the floor. This works the blood norman again. Logitaksha Urvi. And then we'll release. Change the arms. Then the knee. You got to keep a lift in the chest, so don't collapse into the arm. Push away from the forearm, even if you're just holding the foot. Hold the foot, or bring it closer to you. Maybe turn the wrist. Maybe press the heel towards the outside of the hip and push the floor away simultaneously. Good, and slowly release the foot. So we'll just leave it doing one side each because it'll help us with what comes next. And then just take a break for a moment. So you're going to come down onto the forehead. Let your buttocks relax and spread. Okay, so now, if you had a bit of knees just before we do the next one, you can have a look up here. If you felt this was going to put pressure on your knee, this one, yeah, then the next one will definitely put pressure on the knee. So you'll just have to go back and stay with the Sphinx. It's all good work, just make sure it's appropriate for you. Because we're doing Dhanurasana, which means you hold your feet, you lift the feet. Yeah? Now, if you're doing that with pressure on the knee, it's not going to work. You have to be able to isolate the foot and the shin, like we started with when your feet were on the floor. So that's the challenge. So, to be safe, There's a couple of you dealing with knee stuff at the moment, so I suggest you do this one, okay? If you're familiar with Dhanurasana, you want to give it a go, and you've no knee complaints, come on to the forehead. Relax the shoulders forward. As you inhale, lift your feet, lift your shins up and back. Lift the gaze. Stay a couple more breaths. One more. Lift the feet up, 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 up. And slowly come down. Slowly come down. Well done. Now, let your big toes come in, let your heels come out, and then you can all rest. So let the buttocks spread away from the sacrum. And when you're ready, hands over the shoulders, you're going to push yourself up. So don't go back to down dog, it might be tempting, because I want to do one more thing, but this time it's on your back. So lying on your back. Setu Bandha. Bend your knees, make sure your feet are parallel to the sides of your mat, hip distance apart. And what I like to do with my buttocks on the floor is kind of drag the lumbar away from the buttocks. So the buttocks move towards the heels, the lumbar moves towards the waist a little, creates a little traction on the sacrum. Now, bend your elbows. Press the elbows into the floor, lift the side of the chest. As you press the back of the shoulder down, lift the sternum. Work paying attention to your feet. Now as you press your feet into the floor, big toes, inner heels in particular. Big toes, inner heels, outer heels. Start to lift the hip slowly from pressing the feet down. The more you can press your feet down, the lighter the hip gets. Now lift the pubic bone first towards your face. As you get higher, roll the shoulders under a little bit more, press the elbows down more, lift the side chest more. Try to get the pubic bone, the highest point. And you go as high as you can. Some of you might get your hands underneath the back of the hip and you create a shelf for your hips. If you can't do that without straining your wrists, just keep your elbows bent like so. It's assuming you get height in the hip. So now you've really got the chest lifted. The thymus gland is higher than the brain. It's going to get flooded with blood first, and then the brain second. Keep the feet pressing into the floor, hips lifting, shoulders pressing into the floor, sacrum lifting, thighs parallel. And you're going to release slowly. So release your hands. Press the elbows down. Support the trunk as you lower it with the arms on the floor. Slowly, slowly down. And then just let everything, with your knees together, just let the hips, sacrum, waist, shoulders, let it all just rest and relax on the floor. You get a feeling that the back is relaxed, that there's no residual, not too much residual tension. Let your knees come in, And then interlace around the top of the shin. Now just pause here for a moment. So maybe the chin lifts. So bring the chin in. Relax the shoulders. You take a breath in if you want to lift your head. Curl your head in as you press the shins towards you. Press the thighs towards the ribs. Press the ribs into the floor. Back ribs. Shoulders are relaxed. And inhale the head down. And exhale the feet down. And if you just roll onto your left or your right side, sorry, let the right arm come alongside your head. Roll onto your right side. Pausing here. And then pushing yourself up slowly. So now we're going to sit in Sukhasana. So, crossing the shins in front of you. Cross them so that the ankles are underneath the opposite knee. Yeah? And that you're not pulling the feet in. So they have to come out. And then you work the heels slightly away from each other. We start for a moment just sitting upright. So you did some work on the lower back there, so we just have to be mindful now that you can release it without straining it. So just sitting up, see if you can sit right between the sit bones. Relax the space between the sit bones into the floor. Chin slightly in, back of the skull lengthening up. We're going to lean forward with the trunk, so keep the fingers on the floor initially. As you bend from your waist, keep your hips sitting into the floor. Just see where that first point of resistance is. It might be fairly obvious. And as you start to let the hairline come down, one at a time, let the arms come forward. Keep them shoulder distance apart. Palms flat, arms straight. So you have support for the trunk as it finds its way to folding from all the back extending. Let the head come forward gently. But keep it lengthening in the front body, so keep the sternum lengthening forward even as the head comes down. Long, slow exhalations all the way to empty. Fully exhale. As you come back with the hands slowly. Now we're going to take this into a gentle twist from here. So, starting by turning to your left. So take your left hand behind you. In line with your sacrum. And take your right forearm, wrist, depends on the length of your arm, outside the back of the left knee. So you're creating that traction to turn the waist. Now look over the front shoulder. Sit on the center, so right on that space between your sit bones. Lengthen up to the back of the skull. Inhale, lifting the sternum. And as you exhale, turn your waist and your ribs back. But keep your head forward. So your head wants to turn with your waist. Keep it forward. Turn your waist back. Get the waist and ribs working, not just the head. Exhale to empty, navel back to the spine. And as you inhale, let your head now follow the turn. Push away from the backhand. And slowly, head forward, waist forward. Inhale. Then you're going to change. So right hand straight back behind you. Left wrist outside, the right knee. Looking forward at first. Find that central point, so you're sitting between the sit bones. Lifting the sternum, inhale, chin in. Exhale, turn the waist back. Follow the navel to the spine. The more the waist goes back, the more the head turns forward. So it's a counter twist for the head. Drop that front shoulder blade down. And finally let the head follow. Fully exhale, head forward gently, and the waist. We'll change the cross, so take the other shin in front. Make sure the ankles are more or less under the knee, opposite knee. Start with the fingertips to the side, start sitting on the center one more time, chin in, the base of the skull lengthens up. Inhale as you lengthen up to the base of the skull. Exhale as you start to hinge from the waist. And again, keeping the hip heavy on the floor as you let the arms come forward. Don't come off the sit bones. As the arms walk forward, use the pressure of the hands on the floor to sit back into your hip. So as you come forward, there's a tendency to lift, get a bit light on the hip, but keep sitting back into it even as the arms come forward. Long, slow exhalations. Follow the navel back towards the spine. Relax any tension in the neck. Just keep your arms firm. Couple more breaths. Exhaling fully, slowly coming up. So now we're going to stay seated for just a little while. I'm going to take you through the microcosmic orbit that takes the energy up the back and down the front. The channels in the front and the back. So be comfortable seated, yeah? So I'm sitting comfortable, I'm not going to move with this. If you want to sit on a blanket, for example, you can sit on a blanket or a block, or just prop yourself up a little bit. So what I ask you to do is to keep your arms straight, and you're going to let your index finger curl in towards the base of your thumb, and you just hold that with your thumb. The other fingers are straight. And then find your way to sit on the center again. You place your tongue against the upper palate, so hopefully it's been there the whole time. But if it hasn't, now's a good time to put it there. Behind the upper ridge of the teeth. You're going to close your eyes. Now lengthen the base of the skull up again as the chin comes slightly down, slightly in. Keep that lift in the sternum, that thymus gland lifted. I'm going to take you through a number of landscapes in the body, from the front to the back with your breath. And then we'll try and join them all together for a little while with your awareness, with your breath. So take a few breaths to begin into the belly. Feel the belly expand as you inhale. Navel drawing back towards the spine as you exhale. Keep the chin in, keep the chest lifted. Now you're going to take one more breath into the belly, inhale. And exhale fully. Inhale to the space below your navel, lower belly. Exhale to your pelvic floor. Inhale to your pelvic floor. Exhale to your sacrum. Inhale to your sacrum. Exhale to the space directly opposite your navel, lumbar 2, lumbar 3. It's called the door of life. Inhale, lumbar 2, lumbar 3, opposite the navel. Exhale between your shoulder blades, T5, just between the shoulder blades. Inhaling to T5. Exhaling to the base of your skull where it meets the neck. Inhale to the base of the skull, it's called the jade pillow. Exhale to the crown of your head, top of your head. Inhale to the crown of the head. Exhale to the eyebrow center, center of the forehead.